The first Vrexian ship appeared in Earth's orbit on a Tuesday morning. Admiral Ginwu stood on the bridge of the Orbital Defense Station, watching the massive vessel hang motionless against the stars. It was 3 times larger than anything humans had ever built. Within hours, every screen on Earth showed the same message in perfect English: "We come in peace. We wish to talk." For 3 years, the talking continued. Dr. Hannah spent countless hours in laboratories, studying the small pieces of technology the Vrexians shared. They seemed friendly enough. They showed humans pictures of their empire, 400 star systems spanning half the galaxy. They offered trade agreements and cultural exchanges. Diplomat Yuna led the human negotiation teams, always careful, always cautious, but hopeful that humanity had finally found friends among the stars. The Vrexians were tall, with dark blue skin and 4 arms. They spoke of their peaceful empire, how they brought civilization to primitive worlds. They never mentioned the word conquest. They never explained what happened to species that refused their help, Yuna asked once. And the Vexian ambassador simply smiled and changed the subject. On the morning of the ultimatum, Yuna sat across from the Vexian High Council via hologram transmission. The council leader spoke in the same friendly tone he always used. Earth must provide 40% of its population for labor integration. This is standard procedure for all new members of our empire. Yuna felt her blood turn cold. 40% meant nearly 3 billion people. She refused immediately. The council leader's smile never changed. "You have misunderstood your position. This is not a negotiation. You have 1 week to comply." 6 days later, Yuna was still trying to reach the Vrexian ambassador when the ships appeared. 10 massive warships, each one positioning itself above Earth's largest cities. Admiral Jinwu scrambled every defense fighter humanity had. It wasn't enough. It was never going to be enough. At exactly noon, every television, every phone, every computer screen on Earth went dark. Then they flickered back to life, showing the view from orbit. The broadcast reached not just Earth, but every planet in the Vrexian Empire. 3 trillion beings across 400 star systems watched as the warships opened fire. Shanghai vanished first. The beam weapons turned the entire city into molten glass in seconds. 12 million people died before they could scream. Mumbai disappeared next, then Sao Paulo. Admiral Jinwu shouted orders, launched missiles, fired every weapon Earth had. Nothing reached the Vrexian ships. Their shields were too strong. Dr. Hannah watched from her laboratory as Jakarta burned. She had friends there, had past tense now. The cameras kept rolling, kept broadcasting. The Vrexians wanted everyone to see. They wanted the fear. The bombardment continued for 6 hours. Cairo, Mexico City, Delhi, Beijing, Lagos, Karachi. 10 cities. 10 billion people. The death toll was so large, it stopped meaning anything. Numbers on a screen. Smoke rising from craters that used to be homes. When it finally stopped, the Vrexian Grand Admiral Zeltos appeared on every screen. He stood in his pristine uniform, not a hair out of place, and smiled at the camera. "People of Earth, you have witnessed the price of disobedience. You have 30 days to accept our terms. Surrender 40% of your remaining population, or we will return to finish what we started. The choice is yours." The broadcast ended. The screens went dark. For a long moment, the entire planet sat in silence, too shocked to even cry. Then the screaming started. Governments collapsed within hours. Presidents and prime ministers fled to bunkers or simply disappeared. Riots erupted in every major city still standing. Some people demanded immediate surrender. Others wanted to fight, even knowing it was hopeless. Most just wanted to hold their families and wait for the end. But in a military bunker, 3 miles beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Jinwu made a different choice. He gathered every military commander who was still alive and still sane. General Minji was there, her face hard as stone. Colonel Hyunwoo, who had lost his entire family in Beijing. Commander Yujin, whose sister had died in Lagos. Jinwu spoke quietly, but everyone heard him. "They think they've broken us. They think we'll surrender or die quietly. They're wrong. General Mingji leaned forward. We can't fight them. We saw what happened. Our weapons are useless. Our current weapons, Jinwoo agreed. But we have something they don't. We have rage. We have purpose. And we have 30 days. He activated a screen showing Dr. Hannah's face. She was still in her laboratory, still working even as the world burned around her. Doctor, I need you to build me weapons. Not defensive weapons. Not deterrents. I need weapons that will kill every last one of them. Hannah's eyes were red from crying, but her voice was steady. What exactly are you asking me to do, Admiral? I'm asking you to help me make them extinct. The room fell silent. What Jinwoo proposed was not war. It was not even revenge. It was complete annihilation. The total destruction of an entire species across 400 star systems. Colonel Hunwoo spoke first. When do we start? The decision spread through the surviving military networks within hours. There would be no surrender, no negotiation, no mercy. The Phyrexians had made their choice when they murdered 10 billion humans and broadcast it to the galaxy. Now humanity would make its choice. Dr. Hannah gathered every scientist who was still alive. Weapons designer Tai Yang, who specialized in exotic physics. AI specialist Sora, who understood computer systems better than anyone alive. Engineer Dongyun, who could build anything if you gave him the blueprints. They all understood what was being asked of them. They all said yes. The work began immediately. Sleep became optional. Food became an afterthought. Every remaining resource on Earth was redirected to a single purpose. Building the tools of extinction, Admiral Jinwoo stood at his window, looking up at the stars. Somewhere up there, the Phyrexians were celebrating. They thought they had won. They thought Earth would break. They had no idea what was coming. 28 days after the massacre, Dr. Hannah stood in front of a massive assembly line. Weapons rolled off the production line every 6 minutes. Weapons that shouldn't exist. Weapons that violated every law of physics she had once believed in. Grief was a powerful motivator. So was hate. The nanophage warheads came first. Tiny machines, smaller than bacteria, designed to consume organic matter and replicate. Released in atmosphere. They would devour every living thing on a planet within hours. Dr. Hannah had designed them to target Phyrexian DNA specifically. They would ignore every other species in the galaxy. But they would find every Phyrexian, no matter where they hid. Tay worked on something even worse. The reality fracture bombs created localized tears in space-time. Anything caught in the blast radius didn't just die. It stopped existing. Ships, planets, entire star systems could be erased. The math said it was impossible. Tai Yang built 12 of them anyway. Sora developed the mimetic virus, a digital infection that attacked Phyrexian neural patterns. It spread through their communications networks, through their computers, through their implants. Infected Phyrexians experienced the death of every human who had died in the bombardment. 10 billion deaths experienced simultaneously. Their minds couldn't handle it. They simply shut down. But the most important work happened in Engineer Dongyun's facility. The Phyrexians had faster-than-light travel. Earth didn't. That had always been the problem. You couldn't fight an empire that could appear anywhere in the galaxy, while you were still stuck in your own solar system. Dongyun changed that. He worked for 26 days straight, sleeping in his laboratory, eating at his workstation. The math was insane. The energy requirements were impossible. He built it anyway. On day 27, he activated the first human faster-than-light drive. The test ship jumped from Earth to Mars in 3 seconds. Then to Jupiter. Then to Alpha Centauri. The drives didn't just match Phyrexian technology, they surpassed it. Earth's ships could now strike anywhere in the galaxy within hours. Admiral. Jinwoo received the report and allowed himself a small smile. It was the first time he'd smiled since the bombardment. General. Minji reorganized Earth's military into extinction battalions. Every soldier received the same briefing. This was not a war for territory. This was not a war for resources. This was a war of annihilation. The objective was simple: Kill every Vrexian in the galaxy. No exceptions. No survivors. No mercy. Captain Siagen volunteered to lead the first strike group. He had been off-planet during the bombardment, visiting the Mars colony. He had watched from space as Earth burned. He had watched his home city of Sol vanish in fire. When Minji asked him if he could handle what was being asked, he just laughed. Handle it? General, I've been dreaming about it for 28 days. The Extinction Armada took shape. 500 warships, built in record time from every scrap of metal humanity could find. They weren't pretty. They weren't comfortable. They were built for one purpose: killing Vrexians. Each ship carried a mixture of weapons. Nanophage warheads for planetary bombardment. Reality fracture bombs for hardened targets. Quantum disruptors that could tear apart Vrexian shields. In kinetic kill vehicles, simple chunks of metal accelerated to 95% the speed of light. When those hit, they released more energy than nuclear weapons. Lieutenant Nari trained on the kinetic systems. She was young, barely 22, but she had lost everyone she loved in Mumbai. She could calculate trajectory solutions in her head faster than the computers. When asked how she felt about what they were going to do, she said, "They killed my family. I'm going to kill theirs." Seems fair. Colonel Hunwoo handled the ground forces. The extinction battalions would be needed for the Vrexian homeworld. Admiral Jinwoo wanted that done personally, not from orbit. The Vrexians needed to see human soldiers coming. They needed to understand what they had created. On day 29, Dr. Hannah completed the final weapons tests. Everything worked. Everything was ready. She went to Admiral Jinwoo's office and gave her report. When she finished, she asked the question that had been haunting her. Are we really going to do this? Kill all of them? Every single one. Jinwoo looked at the photos on his wall. Pictures of Earth before the attack. Beautiful, blue, full of life. They killed 10 billion of us and broadcast it to the galaxy. They wanted everyone to see. Wanted everyone to be afraid. He turned to face her. Now everyone will see what happens when you make humans afraid, and they'll learn a different kind of fear. On day 30, the Vrexian fleet returned to Earth. 200 warships, more than enough to finish destroying the planet. Grand Admiral Zeltos contacted Earth on an open channel, ready to receive their surrender instead. He found 500 human warships waiting. Admiral Jinwoo's face appeared on Zelthus' screen. The Vrexian admiral actually laughed. You build ships in 30 days and think you can fight us? Primitive creatures. We've ruled this galaxy for 600 years. Jinwoo's expression didn't change. You ruled this galaxy. Past tense. We're not here to fight you, Zeltos smiled. Then you surrender? No, Jinwoo said. We're here to make you extinct. The admiral opened fire. The Second Battle of Earth lasted 4 minutes and 17 seconds. The Vrexian fleet approached in standard formation. Shields at maximum, weapons charged. They had fought thousands of battles across hundreds of worlds. They knew how combat worked. They were confident, certain, superior. They were wrong about everything. Admiral Jinwoo gave a single order. Fire. 500 human ships unleashed weapons the Vrexians had never seen. Quantum disruptors hit their shields first. The Vrexians had designed their shields to stop conventional weapons, energy beams, even nuclear missiles. They had never considered weapons that attacked reality itself. The first Vrexian ship simply collapsed inward, crushed by its own mass as the quantum disruptor rewrote local physics. The second ship tore in half as space-time twisted around it. The third exploded when its power core was shunted into a different dimension. Grand. Admiral Zeltos watched in horror as his fleet died around him. He screamed orders, demanded explanations, called for retreat. His tactical officer reported that retreat was impossible. The humans had mined every jump point with reality fracture devices. Any ship that tried to escape would be torn apart, Captain. Seojin led Strike Group Vengeance through the Vrexian formation like a knife through paper. His weapons were simple, kinetic impactors, chunks of metal moving at relativistic speeds. Simple, but devastating. When a 5-ton projectile hits at 95% light speed, shields don't matter. Armor doesn't matter. The kinetic energy release vaporizes everything. Lieutenant Nari scored the first direct hit on a Vrexian capital ship. The impact punched straight through the vessel and out the other side, the shockwave tearing the ship into fragments. She was already calculating her next shot before the debris finished spreading. The Vrexian fleet tried to adapt, tried to fight back. Their weapons were powerful, their ships well-armored. Against any normal opponent, they would have one. But humans weren't normal anymore. Grief had made them creative. Rage had made them brilliant. Dr. Hannah's nanophage warheads, now deployed against the Vrexian boarding parties that tried to assault human ships. The Vrexian soldiers were tough, well-trained, genetically enhanced for combat. The nanophages didn't care. Tiny machines swarmed over the Vexians, consuming them at the molecular level. The soldiers died screaming, watching their own bodies dissolve. 2 minutes into the battle, Grand Admiral Zeltos realized they were going to lose. 3 minutes in, he realized they were all going to die. At 3 minutes 40 seconds, he tried to surrender. Admiral Jinwoo received the surrender request and deleted it without responding. The last Vexian ship exploded at 4 minutes 17 seconds. Out of 200 warships, only one survived. Zelthus's flagship, disabled but intact. Jinwoo had given specific orders to capture it. When Vrexian soldiers were dragged from the wreckage, Zeltos demanded to speak with Jinwoo. Demanded to know by what right humans rejected his surrender. Demanded a trial according to galactic law. General Minji answered him instead. You broadcast our deaths to 3 trillion beings. You wanted everyone to see. Now everyone will see what we do to you. There will be no trial. There will be no mercy. There will be no survivors. Zeltos was taken away, screaming threats about the Empire's revenge. Admiral Ginwoo addressed his fleet. Operation Alien Extinct is now active. You have your targets. You know your orders? When you arrive at Vrexian worlds, remember what they did to us? Remember the 10 billion? Show them exactly what they taught us. 500 ships split into strike groups. Each group had a list of targets. Vrexian colony worlds, military installations, industrial centers. In 3 hours, 47 strike groups would hit 47 major Vrexian worlds simultaneously. Captain Seojin's group headed for the Vrexian homeworld. He stood on his bridge, watching the stars streak past as they jumped through hyperspace. His crew was silent, focused. They knew what was coming. They knew what they had to do when they dropped out of hyperspace above Vrexia Prime. They found the planet's defenses already mobilizing. Orbital platforms, defense satellites, automated weapon systems. The Vrexians had built impressive defenses over 6 centuries of conquest. Seojin armed the nanophage warheads. The first missiles hit the capital city. The nanophages deployed in massive clouds, invisible to the naked eye. Vrexians looked up at the sky, confused by the strange mist falling like rain. Then they started screaming. The nanophages consumed everything organic. Vrexians dissolved where they stood, their bodies breaking down into component molecules. Plants withered. Animals collapsed. Within an hour, the capital city was an empty tomb. Buildings intact, but every living thing gone. Seo Jun watched through the ship's cameras. He felt nothing. No satisfaction, no horror, no regret. Just the cold certainty that this was necessary. They had made it necessary. Across the galaxy, the other strike groups reached their targets. Lieutenant Neris' kinetic bombardment of a major shipyard released. So much energy that the shockwave was visible from neighboring star systems. Commander Yujin's group encountered fleeing civilian transports and destroyed them all. No exceptions. No mercy. The galaxy's communication networks lit up with reports of the attacks. 3 trillion beings across 400 star systems watched as humanity took its revenge. The same networks that broadcast Earth's destruction now showed. Vrexian worlds burning. The Vrexian High Council tried to organize a defense. They sent orders to their fleet, called for reinforcements, demanded that their military stop the human advance. But their military was scattered, unprepared, and terrified. Humans fought like nothing they had ever encountered. Humans fought like they welcomed death as long as they could kill one more Vrexian first. On day 3 of Operation Alien Extinct, the Vrexian Council broadcast a message to Earth. They appeared on screens, their forearms raised in surrender, begging for peace. They offered reparations, territory, technology, anything if the humans would just stop. Admiral Jinwoo responded by broadcasting Grand Admiral Zelthus's execution. The Vrexian admiral was brought before the cameras and shot. No trial, no speech, just a bullet and silence. Then Jinwoo spoke directly to the Vrexian Council. You murdered 10 billion humans and broadcast it to make us afraid. Now watch as we murder 10 billion of you. And when we're done with that, we'll murder the rest. There will be no peace. There will be no negotiation. There will be extinction. Relativistic missiles hit the council chambers 17 seconds later. By week 4 of Operation Alien Extinct, the galaxy was in chaos. Over 200 Vrexian worlds had been sterilized. The empire that had ruled for 600 years was collapsing. Refugees fled in every direction, trying to find somewhere safe. There was nowhere safe. Several other galactic empires attempted to intervene. The Corthian Alliance, the Drexery Federation, and the Yulian Concordat all sent formal protests to Earth. They demanded humanity cease its genocide immediately. They threatened sanctions, blockades, military action. Director Jisoo, who now led Earth's civilian government, addressed the galaxy. She had been a teacher before the attack, working in Shanghai. She had survived only because she was visiting her sister in Australia. Everyone she knew was dead. She spoke calmly, clearly, so there could be no misunderstanding. You watched the Vrexians murder 10 billion humans. You did nothing. You sent no aid. You offered no support. You just watched. Now you demand we show mercy? She leaned toward the camera. No, you have no right to demand anything from us. If you interfere, you will share their fate. The Corthian Alliance didn't believe her. They assembled a fleet of 300 warships and positioned them to blockade the Vrexian core worlds. When Captain Minho's strike group arrived, the Corthian admiral ordered them to stand down or be destroyed. Minho didn't even respond. He simply activated Dr. Hannah's quantum cascade device. The weapon was experimental, untested in actual combat. Hannah had warned that it might not work properly. It worked better than expected. The quantum cascade created a temporary black hole in the center of the Corthian fleet. The gravitational pull was immense, irresistible. Ships were crushed into singularity before they could even scream. The black hole lasted 6 seconds before collapsing. When it vanished, there was nothing left. 300 Corthian ships simply didn't exist anymore. The message was received. No other empire attempted to interfere, Major Sunwoo led the ground forces on Vrexia Prime. Admiral Jinwoo had ordered the homeworld be taken personally, not destroyed from orbit. He wanted Vrexians to see human soldiers in their cities. Wanted them to understand exactly what they had created. The extinction battalions landed in drop pods. Thousands of soldiers hitting the surface simultaneously. Vrexian military forces tried to stop them. It didn't matter. Human soldiers fought with weapons that seemed impossible. Personal shields that stopped Vrexian weapons. Powered armor that made them faster and stronger. And a fury that made them unstoppable. Sunwoo walked through the burning streets of the capital. His armor was scorched and dented. He had been fighting for 18 hours straight. Around him, his soldiers cleared buildings methodically. No prisoners. No exceptions. A group of Vrexian civilians tried to surrender, waving white cloths and crying. Sunwoo's orders were absolute. He didn't hesitate. Didn't slow down. Just kept moving. Dr. Taiyang deployed the mimetic virus on Vrexia Prime. It spread through the planet's communication, its networks in seconds, infecting every Vrexian computer. Every implant, every communication device, infected Vrexians collapsed, screaming, their minds overwhelmed by the memories of 10 billion human deaths. The virus was elegant in its cruelty. It didn't just kill. It made Vrexians experience the terror and agony of every human who had died in the original bombardment. 10 billion individual deaths, each one unique, each one horrible. The Vrexian brain wasn't designed to handle that much input. Most died within minutes. The ones who survived wished they hadn't. By week 6, 350 Vrexian worlds had been sterilized. The Empire's population had dropped from 200 billion to less than 5 billion. The survivors fled into deep space, hoping to hide in the dark between stars. Specialist Sora hunted them. Her AI tracking systems were relentless, processing billions of data points, following every trace. Every ship that ran left a trail in hyperspace. Every colony needed supplies. Every refugee created signals. Her computers found them all. When Sora's systems located a hidden refugee colony, she reported it to Admiral Jinwoo. He sent strike groups immediately. There was no debate about whether these refugees were military or civilian. There was no consideration of whether they posed a threat. They were Vrexian. That was enough. The few neutral species who still maintained contact with Earth received regular updates on the operation's progress. Admiral Jinwoo was transparent about what humanity was doing. He wanted the galaxy to know, wanted them to understand that this was deliberate, calculated, stoppable. His message to the galaxy was simple. We are not conquering the Vrexian Empire. We don't want their worlds. We don't want their technology. We want them dead. All of them. When we're finished, Vrexian will be a word that parents use to frighten children. A ghost story. A warning. Engineer Dongyun completed his final weapon on day 63. The stellar cleanser was designed to destabilize a star's fusion reactions, forcing it into supernova. It could turn an entire star system into a grave. When intelligence reported that 40 million Vrexians had established a hidden colony in a remote system, believing themselves safe far from the main empire, Jinwoo's response was immediate. He sent Dongyun's weapon. The star went supernova 3 hours after the device activated. The explosion was visible across half the galaxy. 40 million Vrexians died in the blast. The system's planets were vaporized. Nothing remained but an expanding cloud of plasma. The galaxy watched in horror. Humanity had just murdered 40 million beings by detonating their sun. Not in battle, not in self-defense, simply because they existed. Several species sent secret communications to Earth, pledging eternal friendship and promising never to threaten humanity. Director Jisoo acknowledged their messages, but made no agreements. Earth didn't need friends. Earth needed everyone to be too terrified to ever be enemies. On day 89 of Operation Alien Extinct, Captain Seojin's long-range scouts detected something unexpected. A massive flotilla of Vrexian ships, approximately 8,000 vessels, deep in uncharted space. The population estimates put the total around 400 million Vrexians. They were heading toward the Galactic Rim, attempting to flee the galaxy entirely. Admiral Jinwoo convened his command council. It was the first time since the operation began that there was actual debate. Some officers argued these survivors posed no threat. They were running away, defeated. They would never return. General Minji disagreed. Give them 1,000 years and they might rebuild. They might come back. We can't allow that risk. Colonel Hunwal nodded. We've killed nearly 200 billion Vrexians. What's 400 million more? But Lieutenant Nari surprised everyone by speaking against it. We've already won. They're leaving. Isn't that enough? The room fell silent. For the first time, someone had suggested mercy. Dr. Hannah entered the discussion remotely. She looked exhausted, aged 10 years in 3 months. I've developed one more weapon. I didn't want to. Didn't think we'd need it. She brought up schematics on the screen. The reality cascade. It attacks causality itself. It would erase the target from existence retroactively. Not just kill them, but make it as if they never existed. Taeyong stared at the designs. Hannah, that's insane. The power requirements alone? I built it. She interrupted. It works on a species-wide scale. We could erase every Vrexian in the galaxy simultaneously. Wipe them from history. The room went quiet. What she proposed was beyond genocide. It was existential annihilation. Director Jisoo made the final decision. She'd been listening to the debate from Earth, where she was overseeing the reconstruction efforts. They broadcast our deaths to make us afraid. We broadcast their extinction to make the galaxy remember. But if we use that weapon, what will the galaxy remember? That we became something worse than they were. Admiral Jinwoo considered this. What do you recommend? Hunt them down. Kill them, conventionally. Let the galaxy see that we gave them a chance to run and still caught them. Let every species watching understand that there is nowhere far enough. Jisoo paused. But don't erase them from history. Our dead deserve to be remembered. The Vrexians deserve to be remembered too. As a warning. The decision was made. The hunt would continue. Finding the fleeing flotilla took 30 days. They had fled far beyond charted space, into the darkness between spiral arms. Lieutenant Naris' tracking systems followed every trace they left. Every hydrogen atom, disturbed by their passing. When humanity's ships finally cornered the flotilla in empty void, the Vrexians transmitted a message. It was from their civilian leader, a female named Kalara, who had never supported the attack on Earth. She begged for mercy, offered eternal servitude, promised the remaining Vrexians would accept any terms, any conditions, if humanity would just let them live. Admiral Jinwoo watched the transmission. Kalara was crying. Behind her, you could see Vrexian children. The footage was designed to evoke sympathy, and it did. Jinwoo felt sympathy. He felt pity for the children who had done nothing wrong. He gave the order to fire anyway. But first, broadcast one final message to the galaxy. He wanted every species watching to understand exactly why this was happening. My name is Admiral Jinwoo. I represent the human species. 3 months ago, the Vrexian Empire murdered 10 billion of my people. They broadcast it to 3 trillion beings across 400 star systems. They did this to make us afraid, to make us submit. Instead, it made us something else. He gestured to the screen, showing the Vrexian flotilla. These are the last Vrexians in the galaxy. 400 million individuals, many of them civilians, many of them children, who had nothing to do with what their empire did to us. I see them. I acknowledge their innocence. I even pity them. Jinwoo's expression hardened. But we are not monsters who enjoy this. We are humans who refuse to let genocide go unanswered. The Vrexian Empire made a choice when they murdered 10 billion of us. They made a choice to show no mercy, to kill civilians, to murder children. Now they ask us to show them the mercy they denied us. And we refuse. He looked directly at the camera. Let every species watching understand this. You do not get to commit genocide and then beg for mercy when your victims fight back. You do not get to murder billions and then expect forgiveness. The bill has come due. Payment will be collected. Admiral Jinwoo gave the order. Activate all weapons. Leave nothing. The human fleet opened fire. 8,000 Vrexian ships tried to scatter, tried to run. There was nowhere to run. Nanophage missiles deployed in massive clouds. The Vrexians had no defense against them. Ships full of civilians dissolved from the inside out. Kinetic impactors moving at near light speed tore through the flotilla. Each impact released energy equivalent to nuclear weapons. Ships exploded, atmosphere venting, fires spreading. The screams transmitted across every frequency, broadcast back to the galaxy that was watching. It took 6 hours to kill 400 million Vrexians. When it was done, the void was quiet. Debris floated in the darkness. The last remnants of a species that had ruled 400 star systems for 600 years. Admiral Jinwoo made one final transmission. The Vrexian species is now extinct. Operation Alien Extinct is complete. Let the galaxy remember what happens when you make humans afraid. On day 127, Earth declared the operation over. The Extinction Armada returned home to a planet still rebuilding from the bombardment. 10 billion humans were still dead. 10 cities were still craters of glass, but their deaths had been answered. The galaxy processed what it had witnessed. 3 months! 127 days. In that time, humanity had hunted down and exterminated an entire species across 400 star systems. 200 billion Vrexians dead, 0 survivors. Several empires sent peace envoys to Earth, pledging friendship. Others sent nothing, too afraid to draw attention. But every species understood the message. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was not weak. And humanity never forgot. Admiral Ginwu retired immediately after the final battle. He was 43 years old. He looked 70. The weight of 200 billion deaths, even justified deaths, was not easy to carry. He bought a small farm in New Zealand and never spoke publicly about the war again. Dr. Hannah destroyed her most terrible weapons. The reality cascade, the quantum cascade device, the mimetic virus. She kept the blueprints encrypted and hidden, just in case. But she hoped humanity would never need them again. General Mingi remained in service, rebuilding Earth's military. The extinction battalions were converted into regular defense forces. The soldiers struggled to adjust to peacetime. Many had nightmares. Some couldn't function. They had done what needed doing, but the cost was high. Director Jisoo addressed Earth and the galaxy one final time. We didn't want to become this. We didn't want to be the species that commits extinction. But the Vrexians made that choice for us. We hope we never have to be this again. We hope the galaxy learned what we learned, that there are some lines you don't cross, some atrocities you don't commit. She paused, choosing her words carefully. But if we must become this again, if another species decides to test us, to see if we were serious, ... She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. The galaxy understood. In deep space, where the last Vrexian flotilla had died, automated probes placed a memorial. A simple marker in a dozen languages, including Vrexian. It read, "Here died the last of the Vrexian species. They learned too late that humanity remembers." On Earth, in a valley where Shanghai used to stand, construction began on a memorial wall. 10 billion names would be etched in stone, one for every human who died in the bombardment. Above it, a simple phrase, "They tried to make us afraid. We made them extinct." 50 years passed. The galaxy thrived in unprecedented peace. No major wars. No genocides. No species dared test humanity's patience. Earth traded peacefully with alien empires, shared technology, built alliances. The children and grandchildren of the Extinction Armada lived normal lives. But in every alien school, in every military academy, in every diplomatic training program, across 400 star systems, the same lesson was taught. The story of the Vrexian extinction. How an empire that ruled for 6 centuries was erased in 127 days. How humanity, when pushed beyond its limits, became the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The lesson was simple. Leave humanity alone. The galaxy learned that lesson well. It was peaceful now, cooperative, friendly. It was peaceful because every species remembered what happened when you made humans afraid, in humanity. Having proven it could be both infinitely compassionate and absolutely ruthless, ensured the fear remained justified. Not through threats, not through displays of power, simply by existing, by remembering, by making sure the galaxy never forgot the Vrexian extinction. The dead were honored. The lesson was remembered, and the galaxy was very, very careful never to make humans afraid again, because fear, it learned, could make humans do terrible things, and mercy was a privilege extended only to those who showed it first.